You know what you did? His hand could easily be broken by my foot. Do it.
A little while back, I received early access to one of the most anticipated FNAF fan games of the year, and after playing it, I can say without a doubt that this is the scariest FNAF fan game I have ever played. If you aren't familiar with Grizzlies, it is a FNAF fan game that was released a few years back. The game gained a lot of popularity due to its very unique and polarizing story, and now in 2023, with a Grizzlies 2 on the way, developer Lester Tellez along with a few very talented people have remade the original Grizzlies in VR, bringing more immersion to the original entry while also adding new cutscenes, visuals, and gameplay features. With how good Grizzlies 2 is looking, I eventually wanted to check out the original game, and now thanks to this remake, I was able to do that for the first time. So, if you want to see why this is the scariest FNAF fan game I have ever played, then join me as we look into Grizzlies VR. Also, quick disclaimer guys, I did get early access to this game, however I'm sharing my complete and honest thoughts. If this game was bad, I would have told you guys, it just so happens that this is truly an amazing fan game. Also, if you have a VR headset, I seriously recommend checking out the game for yourself before watching this video, as it's going to contain major spoilers. Anyways, with that being said, enjoy the video. Immediately when beginning the game, we are brought to the main menu. We have an old CRT TV in front of us, as well as different VHS tapes. These are used to navigate throughout the menu, which I find very cool. Also in front of us is of course Grizzly, who looks absolutely horrifying staring us down in the menu. The menu also fills with more characters as the game progresses, but you'll see that later on. Just the vibe of this whole menu is very eerie, the way the main theme plays as all of the animatronics watch over you. After putting in the night 1 tape, we load into our office. Very similar to the original Grizzlies, we have a door to our right and a door to our left. Each has a lever to close them, however we don't get a light like a traditional FNAF fan game. Also in front of us is a monitor which we can use to watch over the different animatronics. We do have a power meter though, so it's best to not spam this thing, only using it when we most need it. We control the cameras by using a knob at the top right of the screen, and can also use a knob beneath that one to zoom in and out. One really cool thing about the cameras in this game is that they are actually rendered in real time, meaning we can actually see Grizzly and the other animatronics move, which is seriously terrifying, especially seeing this clown guy twitching towards the camera. Something about his design is just so creepy to me. As we begin night 1, we receive a phone call. The guy on the phone welcomes us to Grizzly's burger joint and tells us that he built the place alongside his father over 10 years ago after something tragic happened in his life.
I built the Grizzly's burger joint establishment from deep in the ground to sky high with my dear father almost a decade ago when some agonizing things occurred in my life. Saddening, I know, but this has been my one and only pride and joy.
He claims Grizzlies is his one and only pride and joy, and says he designed the animatronics himself. He then makes it very clear to us to not tamper with any of the animatronics before telling us what to do during our shift. He explains our cameras and our doors to us, but claims we most likely won't need to use them. Sure. He also warns us of these rabbit characters which will appear on the screen and tells us to switch our camera or shut it off if we see one. He then ends the phone call and we are left to survive our very first night at Grizzlies. Now the first thing I want to talk about with this game is the atmosphere. The game makes a very clear effort to make everything as immersive as possible, which really adds to the experience. For example, instead of being able to see what hour we are on, we actually have to look at and read the clock above our monitor, costing us precious time we could have used to watch over the animatronics. Another good example is the phone call. You actually need to hold the phone up to your ear to be able to hear what the phone guy is saying. So if you're hoping he'll give you some advice on how to survive the night, you'll need to manage holding the phone with one hand while also operating the cameras and doors with the other, which doesn't sound too hard at first, but on the later nights was actually really stressful. There were even times where I would get so overwhelmed that I would have no option but to just hang up the phone in order to survive. The ambient noises that play, accompanied by the ticking of the clock, add a suspenseful dread that lasted throughout the entire night. Also, the moments where I would turn off the monitor to save power, I felt completely vulnerable and was terrified the entire time of the possibility of an animatronic walking in. During night 1, we need to monitor 3 animatronics: Grizzly, Silly Willy, and our rabbits. Grizzly and Silly Willy behave the same way, both coming to either your right or left door. They each have a starting position and then will slowly begin to move towards one of these doors. When approaching your door, they can be seen on the cameras and also heard coming closer. Also, when they are really close to your door, you can actually see them getting near. There were so many close calls where I would open a door prematurely only to see one of the two almost get into my office, which gave me a heart attack every single time. Just these two animatronics alone caused me to panic because the cameras are pretty confusing to understand at first. Trying to figure out which camera leads to the left door and which one leads to the right door had me stressing throughout all of night 1. But after getting the hang of it, these two aren't too hard to deal with. After completing night 1 with just 2 bars of power to spare, we see the clock hit 6 AM. After this, we are taken back to the main menu and can now see that the rabbit animatronics are now present, staring us down just like Grizzly is. Oh, but what's this? Another VHS on the table?
I'm not crazy. I know I'm not crazy.
This is actually the first of this game's absolutely amazing cutscenes. These are all done by Spectre, who, if you guys don't know, does a lot of really cool FNAF animations, so these were really a treat to see after every single night. In this cutscene, we see Jonathan, the phone guy, filming one of the doors in his office. Grizzly can be seen towering over Jonathan during this whole interaction, which is just so terrifying.
He's so little, so fragile. His hand could easily be broken by my foot. No, I would never. I will never. My pride and joy. Am I your pride and joy, Jonathan? Am I? 'Cause you're mine. So little, so fragile. You could break so easily compared to me. I wouldn't let that happen. No one can do that to you. My pride and joy.
I'm not sure I understand. Can you explain? Oh my god! Oh my god!
The way Grizzly's voice stutters, along with the incoherency of his sentences, makes this all the more scary. Grizzly claims he would never hurt us, but at the same time sounds so unstable that the fear of him snapping at any second fills the cutscene with so much tension. Our character then reaches for a remote that can be used to close the doors, before Grizzly completely freaks out, yelling and banging around in the halls as red lights emit from his face. During this cutscene, I felt genuine fear of Grizzly as an animatronic more than I have for any other character in a FNAF game. Hearing the loud banging of him freaking out just had me thinking to myself, I really have to go back into that office for night 2. There was seriously an amount of dread to move on to the next night that I haven't felt in any other fan game. This was a perfectly done cutscene. The voice performances were amazing, the audio production was executed perfectly, and the visuals were also flawless. 10 out of 10 cutscene, this was seriously amazing. After this, we move on to night 2. We once again get a phone call, although this time it's from someone different.
Hello there, Angel. Angel. You must be asking yourself what you're even doing here at this point, my dear. Oh, dear Angel. You do have some learning to do, don't you? All of this? All of this is so you understand exactly what has happened. What you created. All the sufferings, the death that Jonathan had to go through just for you to leave him behind. Saddening, isn't it? So shameful, so pathetic. For you, that is. And what luck to be able to take advantage of it all. Oh, Angel, I have a plan. A plan that will change the entire world for what you've seen it to be. I have a plan. And don't you worry. It'll be for the better. We'll see.
After this mysterious person on the phone finishes telling us about his plan, we are on to survive once again, only this time with a new threat. This new threat is Prototype, who has the scariest mechanic in the entire game. Prototype, just like Grizzly, can be monitored on the cameras, however Prototype is a lot more hidden. You will need to be looking deep into the darkness of the cameras if you plan on spotting them. When Prototype appears outside either your left or right door, you will have a very brief window of time to close that door before Prototype sprints into your room at full speed. When this occurs, you will hear very fast footsteps approaching and will need to react as quick as possible. With this new character introduced, you now must be completely on edge at every second. The way Prototype looks is also just so disturbing. Prototype is seen to be in a glitched out state, causing it to be more jittery and unpredictable than the other animatronics. Besides Prototype though, no new threats are added for Night 2. We now need to survive once again, only this time the animatronics are a lot more active and our power also becomes more scarce. There were so many close calls during this night that gave me so much anxiety when I was trying to survive, especially during the later hours. There's no way for me to really explain how it feels to really be in the game, but when you are there, you experience real moments of true panic. After barely grazing through Night 2, we can now see Silly Willy has appeared in our office. This dude's design is so unsettling to me. The way it looks almost human with the way it moves, as well as its face, is just so creepy. We can also see Prototype, who is to our left. And just like in game, they can be seen twitching around and just acting unstable. It seriously looks like Prototype could just snap and attack us at any second. Once we get through Night 2, we then get our second VHS tape, this one titled Sleep. This cutscene depicts the phone guy Jonathan once again. This time, he can be seen in a small room working on maintenance for Grizzly.
You just don't understand, man. I told you. They keep walking around and watching me sleep. This is getting ridiculous. I just want it to be over, man. I'm tired of going to sleepless nights. I'm tired of telling them to go away. I already took off Grizzly's chest plate, and I'm currently going to try to disassemble them and edit the programming system. This will show the government, the regime, all of them. All the people who think I'm a sniffling liar, that I am telling the truth. These creations I've made are nothing but twisted, evil metal that somehow created life. I never intended for them to be this smart. It was all an accident. I will fix this.
You know, John, remember that one time you killed that guy for coming into our place? Our pride and joy. A place that is meant to be a happy place. You know what you did. You made it not so happy.
Once again, another perfectly done cutscene. The way Grizzly reminds Jonathan of his past actions is a really cool reveal for the narrative, and the scream Grizzly lets out afterwards is just as terrifying as it was in the first cutscene. These scenes do a really good job of depicting Grizzly as an uncontrollable monster that Jonathan no longer has agency over. It also serves as an amazing way to tell us about Jonathan's past in an interesting and scary way. We not only learn new things about the story, but also see things happen right in front of us. Also, the voice acting and visuals are yet again just so amazing. After that tape ends, we now move on to the third and final night of the game. As soon as we begin Night 3, we receive a phone call from a brand new phone guy once again. In this call, we learn that we are playing as Jonathan's friend, Angel. The guy on the phone tells us that we abandoned our friend before then telling us that our actions have consequences.
I'm sure you know who I am by now. It's It's alright. My name is Aaron Zealander. Name sound familiar? I'm sure it does. Because of that, let's get things straight. Don't question me. Don't ever threaten me. Do not help Jonathan. I assure you, he's already done for. He's got no clue what's even coming for him. No matter how much he wants to, tries to escape. He can't, you can't. Neither of you will ever leave this damn purgatory. It's so sad to see that you've left him. He's your friend, isn't he? Who are you even his friend in the first place? After all, why give yourself up and abandon your friend? What a shame. Let me tell you something, dear angel. Actions will always have consequences.
The game acts like we should recognize who this is, however, I actually couldn't figure out who it was on my first playthrough. Well, turns out this is actually the President of the United States. Yeah, bet you didn't expect that one. I'm not sure if this is because I didn't play the original Grizzlies, which did have different cutscenes, but I just had no idea that's who it actually was until I clarified it with the developer. During night 3, no new threats are added, so once again we have to survive against the same threats, only this time with much harder AI. We need to conserve power as much as possible during this night, using the monitor for barely any time at all. There were so many close calls because of the lack of information I would have gotten on the cameras, which made this night very stressful. Also, during one of my attempts, out of nowhere, this happened. I was not expecting this at all, and after I realized my lever was gone, all I could do was sit there and hopelessly wait for Grizzly or Silly Willy to wander into my office. A random event like this that can happen without warning brings so much immersion and horror to the game, because the surprise of it all caught me so off guard, and made me feel like the animatronics attacking me were capable of much more than just standing at the doorway. This was a night full of pure tension from start to finish. There isn't one moment where you feel at ease, especially during the times when you have your camera off, which for night 3 is most of the night. After getting through the third and final night, we return to the menu for one last time, and once again discover a brand new VHS tape. This one titled, "It Takes Guts."
These goddamn hooligans, if I could make them disappear, I would. It's absolutely sick! Why would someone, out of all places, want to come here?
Do it. Do it.
I can't.
Yes, you can. You got the guts, John. Why are you crying, baby?
In this cutscene, we once again see Jonathan's POV. He is holding back a door which someone is banging on, asking them why they would even want to come here. Jonathan yells at this person banging on the door to get lost before Grizzly stands up right behind him, telling him to do it. Jonathan looks down at a knife in his hands, telling Grizzly he can't, but Grizzly tells Jonathan he can, stating, "You have the guts, John." The homeless man then breaks through the door before Jonathan begins to violently stab the man multiple times, before the VHS tape cuts to Grizzly's face. So yeah, this cutscene depicts the actions Jonathan committed mentioned in the previous VHS tape. This does raise a lot of questions, however. Was this homeless person the first murder that took place at Grizzly's? Is this the man that possesses Grizzly? And how is that possible if Grizzly seems to be already possessed? These are all questions I have for the narrative that I hope are answered in the soon upcoming Grizzly short film, which is set to debut soon on Spectre's channel. So far, I'm extremely engaged in this story and really like the direction it's taking, so I'm super stoked to check out this short film whenever it releases. Once again, the direction this cutscene took is fantastic. The fact that we were actually shown the murder firsthand is something you don't see a lot in fan games. I'm really used to fan games using the tell not show method when coming up for a narrative for obvious budget and resource reasons. But to see a FNAF fan game story fully actualized with really beautifully rendered and directed cutscenes is just so sick. Now, unfortunately, that is where the game ends. However, I honestly think that's not a problem. Not every fan game needs to be 5 nights long, and if the game is able to spread its mechanics and story over a 3-night span more efficiently, then I think that was the better move for the game. Also, after completing the game, we are given access to a custom night, which I have not been able to beat yet, as well as a really cool extras menu which we can navigate through the CRT TV. Overall, I think the Grizzly's VR is a fantastic FNAF fan game. The production value behind every aspect of this game cannot be overlooked. And with a short and sweet story that can be completed within a few hours, I would recommend this to any FNAF fan that has a VR headset. The graphics and animations present are truly stunning. All of the mechanics are engaging and had me stress the entire runtime, and all of the story elements kept me engaged with the narrative throughout my entire playthrough. My only real complaint I would have for the game would be the confusion I experienced for the first time I heard the night 2 and 3 phone calls. I think it should be made a little more obvious who we are playing as well as who is talking to us on the phone throughout the various nights. I also wish we would have gotten more of a conclusion for our protagonist Angel, as the game kind of seems to just forget about him after night 3. There was no intro showing us applying for the job, and also no outro of us receiving our paycheck. So we are left completely in the dark with what happened to us after night 3. It seems like Angel takes a backseat in the story, serving more as a vessel for us to learn more about Jonathan. This is still an amazing FNAF fan game though, and is truly the scariest one I have ever played. Let me know what you guys think though. Did you enjoy Grizzly's VR, and are you looking forward to Grizzly's 2? Anyways, with that being said, that is it from me guys. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.